Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. Just like every Sunday, we're gonna talk about the latest Battlefield 6 news or leaks, even though there is not too much today, but I thought we're not gonna break with the tradition of talking about those leaks every Sunday, so here we go again. And the last playtest was held last Friday, and what they played this time was a new mode, at least new for Battlefield Labs, because we hadn't seen it before, and this is Rush. So it seems like Rush is definitely returning with Battlefield 6 and will, I think, also be available right from the start, because otherwise I don't think they would test it yet. And just from what I've seen, the game mode actually looked really good, and it looked like it did fit pretty well into the setting and into this new game. I always loved to play Rush in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, but I was not really a big fan of it in 2042 because I always felt like the mode was not really well made in 2042 and it didn't quite fit the setting. But from watching the leaks, it looked like it definitely fits a lot better into the new setting and into this new game, also with this huge destruction that it has. We didn't see any new maps. We only saw the 3 maps that we have seen before already. So the Cairo map, Abbasid, then the mountain map in Tajikistan that I cannot remember the name, and the urban map in Gibraltar. Also, I cannot remember the name. I'm sorry, I'm so bad with these map names. And just from the overall impression, it definitely looked like the game is more polished now. If you can remember, in a former video, I talked about the step forward that the Battlefield Labs client made, because it's not in pre-alpha anymore, but we're in alpha now, and it actually, just from the impression that we're getting from the gameplay, it actually looks like an alpha now as well. So it looks more polished, there is a lot less textures missing, there are still a few here and there, and overall it seems like the game has a lot better flow now. Also, it seems like the performance has improved again, and it overall looks like an alpha. So it's not finished yet, but it looks like we're on a really good track here. And from my impression, I'm always thinking that this alpha footage that we're seeing right now actually looks better than Battlefield 2042 when it launched. So I'm cautiously optimistic for this game and also for the launch of it, that we might not see another mess of a launch with this Battlefield game. What was also improved, because this really caught my attention, and there was a point that I was worried about in former gameplay leaks, is the movement. And before, sometimes it looked kind of too much Call of Duty like, with the Omni movement and jumping around and turning mid-air and so on. And this time it seems like this was nerfed and it looks a lot more like Battlefield 1 now. So for example, the sliding seems to be slower and it seems to be shorter than we've seen in former leaked gameplay, and back then it looked a bit more like Battlefield 5, so you had this more dynamic, a bit longer slides, and now it seems like it's shorter and seems to be a bit more heavy, so it looks a lot more like Battlefield 1. And also the transition from walk to sprint, that looked a bit like too instant before, so you were basically going in an instant from walk to sprint without a transition time. This seemed to be polished now, and it looks a lot more like Battlefield 1 as well. So you start walking and then you have this short transition time before you start sprinting. So it looks a lot more natural now and flows a lot more. So I'm thinking we're on a really good track here, and I hope they keep it this way, because it seems like it fits the game pretty well and the overall pace of the game. What I've seen as well, though, what I thought was not concerning, but something that I would like to see different, is that it seems like gadgets and grenades are automatically replenishing, even though you're not in the area of effect of a resupply crate. And I feel like this takes away a lot of the team play, because that would mean that other soldiers or other classes do not rely on support anymore, because they can just sit in a corner and wait for the cooldown to be over and wait for their gadgets or for their grenades to replenish automatically. And it kind of feels a bit out of place for a Battlefield game with one of its core pillars being the team play aspect. So I'm hoping actually that this is only for the sole purpose of testing, and of testing maybe how it flows or how the gadgets work, or if some of them are too strong on something, and that it makes sure that the players have constant access to these gadgets to use them, and so the developers can test them and get their data. So I'm hoping that this is not making its way into the final game, and I hope that at the end and in the final game we will have to rely on the support class to resupply us, because otherwise the support feels kind of useless, at least in my opinion. And then at the end, this is actually the last point already, so you can see there's not too much going on right now with the leaks. But one thing that was leaked as well, and that I think might spark a bit of a discussion within the community, is that Battlefield Labs seem to require secure boot now, and also seems to require it in the future, which I think, or which is pretty clear, I guess, that the new Battlefield game will have this feature as well and will require this feature as well. And just from the comments that I'm getting on my videos after the last Battlefield 2042 update, where secure boot was also added to this game, there was a bit of an outrage, at least from some players that were quite frustrated because they couldn't really get secure boot enabled, or maybe the hardware didn't support it, even though I'm wondering how you're even able to run Battlefield 2042 with a hardware that does not even support secure boot, but that's a different topic, I guess. And yeah, so I think there was a bit of frustration around this topic, especially since players felt like this is something they have to worry about themselves now, and they have to figure out themselves without actually getting much help from EA. And I also read some people that said they just stopped playing Battlefield 2042 entirely because of this secure boot issue. But I already thought if they added to 2042, the new Battlefield game will definitely require it as well, because otherwise adding it to 2042 would be pointless. So it seems like if you want to play the new Battlefield game, if you want to keep playing Battlefield 2042 as well, there is no way around this secure boot feature, so you have to figure out how to enable it within your BIOS. And if you really run Battlefield 2042 on a system that does not have secure boot at all, you might have to upgrade your system in order to be able to play the new Battlefield game at all. So this is something that might not be good news for some players, but this will definitely be a feature in the new Battlefield game. And yeah, that was it for today already. Not too much this time, but still a few things to talk about here and there. And I hope you enjoyed the video as usual. And if you did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. I'm the Catwoman, and you are awesome.